Chevy Capu. Hello. Nice to meet everyone in the classroom right now. Nice to meet Dr. Hubert Hu from Algoma University. Hello. My name is Ayato. I am Simon Fraser University's one of its 4 virtual ambassadors, also known as, well, an official VTuber. With me today, we have our wonderful Madame Stream Technician.
Hello! Hi, I'm Tech. I have a slide. So essentially, my name is Tech. I am also known as the manager of Studio Siet as well as the Cappuverse. I oversee the creative tech productions here at Simon Fraser University's School of Interactive Arts and Technology in their undergraduate program. And I also serve as the production and hardware lead and the talent manager for the Cappuverse program. A little bit about me. I trained in UX design and I worked in event and media productions and communications for about a decade. But I will say, even though I don't practice design, I use it every day in my day-to-day problem solving, as well as a lot of the things that we do here in Studio Siet. I fell down the rabbit hole like a lot of people during the pandemic. During the winter break of 2022, I just finished teaching one of our undergraduate media classes. And my friend started showing me these content creators that were creating with virtual avatars, and I was like, well, that's interesting. What an interesting concept. And here I am now, kind of sort of running my own VTuber program. Go next.
Hello, every Capu. I'm Mo. I already introduced myself at the start because I thought it'd be weird not to, but I guess I should talk a little bit more about what Cappuverse is, because it is essentially, to our knowledge, the world's first official university virtual YouTuber program. And when we say official VTuber program, we mean it is integrated as part of the school and to some degree part of some courses, some university courses. So it's really cool. Cappuverse is the name of our YouTube channel where all of our tubers stream, including me. But I guess I'll introduce each of us on their behalf. So I already said I'm Ayato. I am what is called, well, my former species was a Cappu before I turned into whatever the heck I am now. A Cappu is actually, well, it's kind of like a red panda, but, well, it's derived from mocap. My name, Mo, and Cappu. It's from mocap, like motion capture. Just thought I'd put that out there. But that's me. I also have a genmate. His name is Faye. He's a grad student of magic, but he also transferred to, well, our School of Interactive Arts and Technology, which is what we represent at Simon Fraser University. He's always tired. You could tell he hasn't slept in days. This is Apollo. This is from Gen 2 of our SFU VTubers. He is a really cool, entirely robot construct, owl golem creature. It's super cool. He doesn't even have a mouth, but he's somehow very expressive. And I will say that both of our Gen 2 members were actually created primarily through one undergraduate course at SFU, Ayato 443. That's Interactive Arts and Technology 443, which was the senior project in creative media. And that entire course was about, the start to finish pipeline of creating and debuting VTubers who are stream ready. And Apollo is one of those two. We also have Ren Akane, who they are a secret agent alongside, well, they're kind of like the wrangler of Apollo the Construct. And they're super cool as well. Both created completely by students. Character design, illustrations, logo design, graphic design, and of course their 3D models and rigs were all made by students in Ayato 443. It's super, super cool. Yeah, that's the 4 of us SFU VTubers. Well, mostly Siet VTubers. We represent the School of Interactive Arts and Technology. But yes, that's us. It's pretty cool. It's maybe a little bit unconventional to have, a bunch of anime characters. Well, 3 anime characters and 1 crazy looking robot to represent a university, a public university like SFU. But it's novel. It's cool. And it directly ties into the spirit of the School of Interactive Arts and Technology and our mocap studio right here at Studio Siat. So we thought it made perfect sense.
Yeah, and I'll talk a little bit more about kind of how we got into it, what happened, and kind of a little bit about our actual behind the scenes history here later on. But I have a feeling that a lot of our audience don't actually know what VTubers are, Mo. So I'm actually going to quickly go over what are VTubers. So essentially, VTubers are content creators that utilize virtual avatars, either in 3D or 2D, to create content. And this uses complex technologies such as VR, XR headsets, motion or performance capture to bring characters to life. But it could also be as simple as a webcam and a microphone. There are creators out there, that's all they use. All they use is a webcam and a microphone, and they are creating, and they are VTubers. So a little bit of a history lesson as we set the scene, because later we will be talking about Metaverse and all that. Let's set the scene for kind of how did we get here today. So as mocap technology was developing in the late 90s and early 2000s, people started experimenting with what can be done with mocap technology, how it could be used, and kind of how people can be creative with it and how they can present themselves and change the way they present themselves online. So, or online and in person. So for example, Annoying Orange. Yes, this is hotly debated in VTuber history, whether or not the Annoying Orange is a VTuber. I would say they might not be defined as a VTuber, but really I think they
channel the spirit of it. I think. They
channeled the spirit, and they tried to experiment with how to present themselves on the internet. But also theme parks, back then in the 2000s, mocap technology was extraordinarily expensive, on the order of $200,000. Money then, not money now, $200,000, just to get some basic mocap. And so it was largely corporations, theme parks. So, for example, this is, I think, what's the turtle's name?
I don't know.
From Finding
Turtle
Nemo.
From Finding Nemo.
Yeah, and there was essentially a theme park attraction where people could talk to a mocap avatar as a kind of content creation tool, or in this case, this was back before content creation was a thing. But, as the technology was developing, there were also creatives thinking about how they can use it to present themselves. So in 2011, I think the first widely recognized to be VTuber, Ami Yamato, started blogging with a virtual avatar. Going back and taking a look at VTuber history as I was making this slide deck, it was kind of a throwback. So you can see Ami at the bottom right corner there. 2016, Kizuna Ai was the first kind of big creator that coined the term virtual YouTuber or VTuber, and really was the start of this industry where it wasn't just a bunch of creators, but people were starting to gain notoriety. In 2017 and 2018, two industry giants entered the market. Cover Corp, who is the company behind HoloLive, a VTuber agency, and Anycolor, the company behind Nijisanji, another VTuber agency, entered the market. So really you're seeing, what we're talking about here is an industry that is not that old. It's about, I would say, about 15 years old. How many of you remember this? How many of you remember this version?
Of YouTube?
Of YouTube, yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Penguins, the video specifically. Dude, this was my bread and butter. Back when we could rate videos 5 stars. Or 1 star.
Back when we could back when we can rate videos in general, right?
Back when subscribe button was yellow.
Back in the days of Windows XP. The better days, I would say.
Wish we could turn back time.
I know. For people in the audience, I think your dentures may have just fallen out seeing this image, right? It is a very nostalgic time in the internet. I would argue this was the better time in the internet, when people were still being creative and not everything was ads and revenue driven. But we need to recognize that, content creation really kicked off with YouTube being a thing starting in 2005. And, this was really in a time when, as the technology was developing, audience taste and understanding and the vocabulary of what it means to be a content creator was also developing alongside it, right? So a few other things that really, I think, enabled VTubers to really take off as an industry and as a concept is in 2006. Oh my God, this was also 20 years ago now. Vocaloid became a thing, and Vocaloid is a voice synthesizer. Their first and most, I would argue, their most famous.
Well, she wasn't the first, but she was the most famous.
She was the most famous. Hatsune Miku really warmed up audiences to the idea of a virtual singer or virtual creator, and her first performance was in 2009. And they employed like the Pepper's Ghost kind of technology to bring this character to life.
Sorry, is Pepper's Ghost technology referring to like the glass screen holograms?
Yeah, the glass screen holograms.
Cool.
And then, in 2013, Love Live. So this was all while, in the early and mid 2000s, the idol industry really picked up and became a bit of a thing. But, in 2013, Love Live, the school idol project, the anime really introduced audiences to the idea of virtual idols and going to see concerts for virtual idols, following virtual idols. And really that set the stage for what is to become VTubers. And all during that time, the cost of motion capture was really dropping really, really quickly, from big industry systems that you had to install room scale, $200,000 to $500,000. The technology is finally getting to the point where people can potentially have them at home as prosumer systems. Cost is dropping under about $10,000. And that happened really quickly in the last decade. So these were developments that were happening in parallel. And all of that enabled VTubing to explode in popularity during the pandemic. Everyone was stuck at home. Everyone was feeling disconnected with the world. And they were probably thinking to themselves, how can I find this connection? Or how can content creators create when you can't go outside? And, in the perfect time and place, there were these creatures called VTubers. Their entire medium is online, and they were able to really come into the norm and the popular culture in that period of time. So that was a quick history of VTubing, but nowadays in Japan, where VTubers originated, they're now basically seen as normal celebrities. They follow in the steps of idol culture, and this includes basically making appearances on television, representing organizations from museums to train companies to cities. And of course, Hololive talent, they performed to sold-out concerts, over 50,000 employees in large-capacity stadiums and exhibition venues. And in North America, that is also starting to become a thing. In North America, the industry is still predominantly entertainment-focused, but even here, Hololive is able to fill concert halls up to 10,000 people in LA and in New York. So really, this is a phenomenon that has been gaining steam. Now, let's take a look at the money. It's not just something that is super popular online, but it is something that some companies have kind of formed core businesses around them. So, as an industry, it's said to be about $728 million in Canadian dollars industry in the fiscal year of 2023, and it was growing at about 150% year over year. Primary markets of appeal, Japan, East and Southeast Asia, as well as the English-speaking market are the three kind of biggest markets for VTubing. And notable players in the industry, we have folks, like I mentioned, Cover Corp with Hololive and HoloStars, Anycolor with Nijisanji, as well as the fifth largest player, well, I guess fourth now that VShojo's gotten out of the way.
Yeah. Wait, who's three?
Three, I think Brave Group.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because they're a big conglomerate, right? But essentially, Phase Connect, they're a company based out of Vancouver, and I would say they're like the fourth or fifth biggest company in the space. And so, these are things that clearly have developed over time. And funny enough, last year when I did this research, it was the fourth most desired job of elementary and early middle school students in Japan.
VTuber.
VTuber. VTuber is the job. It's not content creator. It's VTuber.
Wow.
Yeah. Right? Can you believe it? And this is an industry that didn't exist a decade ago when they were born.
God.
So it's kind of crazy, right? How fast this space is moving and how fast things are changing. And I do want to highlight, while large VTuber companies are focused on entertainment and idol culture, it is now also a very active medium with tens of thousands of creators working on their own niches. Art streamers, some example of art streamers include folks like Ninomai Inanis, Nanashimume, who is now graduated and has a second identity. We won't go there. Kairyu Crocodile, who recently debuted. Ida Pochi, as well as Shigure Ui. And both of those last two folks actually became designers for corporate VTubers. Singers, the singer list is really, really long. Some folks I want to highlight: Hoshimachi Suisei from Hololive, as well as Calliope Mori from Hololive. And I will also want to quickly shout out some of our educational VTubers who do some of the really cool work in this space.
It's not just us.
It is not just us. In fact, I would almost dare say we're less educational than some really educational ones.
Very true.
So, for example, we have Sisiji Z Altair, an astrophysics PhD, I believe, an astrophysics PhD. And she does really, really interesting talks about astrophysics and physics in general. We've got folks like Phi the Neutrophil, who does really cool things in the space of biology.
I think he covers like graduate level biology stuff, which is super cool.
Yeah, and also you'll notice in that screenshot, I think this is the screenshot that you sent to me.
Maybe.
Yeah, there's Mo was in the chat last time Phi was streaming, as well as this is a Canadian content creator, also in biology. You'll notice there was science and then there was science ... where, you're starting to deviate from just pure science, but more into pop culture. So we have Pomado Master. Yes, I know. Yes, that screenshot. As well as here, science ... This is less directly science and more kind of on the playing with technology, playing with equipment, and doing some really cool experiments. We have Uo's Lab, and this is kind of more like
This is the electro boom of VTubers.
This is like the electro boom of VTubers. So you can see, really, it is a medium. It is very much not, just wee-woo anime girls idol culture. And I just want to say, VTubers come in all shapes and sizes, and their presentation, while a lot of it is predominantly kind of anime and kind of Japanese culture focused, we've got folks like an airplane VTuber, and that's Airshow, Code Miko, who does really ultra realistic kind of streams, Pumpkin Potion, that is Western kind of old 1930s style Disney kind of style, and then we just have a cactus. Yeah, there are cactuses. So you really, as a VTuber, it's a medium that allows for people to think about how they want to present themselves and to be very creative with all of that stuff. And I just want to point out, VTubers are not AI. There is a popular misconception that VTubers are AI or driven by AI. I know VTubers are not AI unless you are Nero-sama. And in this case, Nero is an AI VTuber. The turtle that's on her head is a separate VTuber, and that turtle is Vidal, the creator behind the AI, and they tend to stream together. So yeah, I think, the point that I'm trying to make by going through this kind of rapid run in history is that, the technology, the users and the audience and the environments all need to kind of come together and be ready for this concept to succeed. Everything needs to be there at the right moment, at the right time, at the right cost. And we'll talk about kind of how that didn't work out, I think, for Meta a little bit later on. Now, speaking of technology, what may be useful for you folks as you're going about doing your research, you may want to do some motion capture to bring, your characters, your motion into the computer to do stuff. And I'll quickly touch on how we go about doing that and the cost associated. So essentially, motion capture, for those that don't know, is the process of recording human or object movement data through sensors or imagery and turning that data into something that can be manipulated online for scientific, technical, or creative applications. It primarily describes capture of motion of bodily movement, whereas performance capture takes this one step further and using very similar technologies to capture things like voice, gesture, and facial movement. So for example, right now, the models that we're using, we are closer to performance capture than motion capture, simply because we are using stuff to capture our face as well as our voice. Did that reset work? Okay, good, it did. So essentially, there are two types of systems that can be used for motion capture. There's the optical system as well as the inertial or sensor-based system. And for the optical system, it essentially uses data captured from image sensors to triangulate a 3D position of a subject, usually between 3 or more cameras. And these systems produce data with 3 degrees of freedom, so movement along the XYZ axis, as well as rotational information. If you have multiple data points across a limb, it will be able to calculate with high degree of certainty rotational information. And there's 3 types of systems that you can use. There's passive marker system. Essentially, that's the most traditional kind of mocap system that you've seen out there, where people are wearing these bunny suits, these black suits, and they have these little silver dots covering their body. And those dots are a retroreflective material. And with the optical systems, that essentially there would be a ring of cameras set up around the room that triangulate the location. Now, an active marker system is very similar to a passive one, except that instead of using these reflective markers, you light up like a Christmas tree. So if you go onto the Studio CEAT website, you'll see a photo of one of our students in a mocap suit. Essentially, they're wearing a black bunny suit like you would in a passive marker system, but there's red dots all over their body, and that helps the system to triangulate. And lastly, we have an optical markerless system. This is largely based on computer vision and AI. And these systems are really interesting, and this is a field that's developing extremely, extremely quickly because it is significantly more cost effective. These systems can be single, dual camera, or even a whole series of cameras, or they could even be LiDAR-based systems. Now, I'm kind of speed running through the technology side because, the class where I teach this usually is 2 hours long. So we're just going to run through this really quickly. Non-optical systems. So these are systems that largely use sensor fusion or kind of body motion data, such as magnetic, stretch, biomechanical sensors to gather information. You might be wondering, what's the difference between each of these systems, and what system should I use, right? So things like the passive marker and active marker systems, they're extremely high quality. They give you highly accurate information. The system that we have is the face-based system. It is millimeter accuracy. Optical markerless, these are AI-based solutions or camera-based solutions. They tend to give you fairly good accuracy. However, if you're using only 1 or 2 cameras, the second, for example, your arm goes behind your body. Can I simulate that with this? Yes. If your arm goes behind your body like my model is right now, it will lose track of it. Or if you turn around, it will lose track of your limbs. So it is not super duper precise, but it is pretty good. Then we have non-optical systems with different levels of fidelities, ranging from like a $50,000 full suit that use a mix of IMU and resistive sensing, to Rococo system, which is, IMU mixed with magnetometers, to the least expensive, the system that we're actually using to do capturing right now. You can see this is based on the Mokopi system. These systems are about $500. You can take them home. They're really, really small. They work off 6 IMU sensors, and they generate mocap data. Now, why not just get the highest precision all the time? Ultimately, it comes down to cost. Really, really precise systems are really, really expensive. I spoke to some folks at SIGGRAPH, like, for example, the latest Vicon system, which mixes optical as well as passive marker tracking. You're looking at, about $100,000 Canadian, $80,000 USD to get that installed. Optical markerless, That is significantly less expensive. But on the other hand, you may have to pay for subscription costs, AI processing costs, and so on and so forth. So there may be a higher kind of a maintenance or usage cost. And then non-optical systems, while they tend to be less expensive, the fidelity is not nearly as high. So when it comes to deciding, here, I'll go to this slide first. When it comes to deciding what system to use for your research or what system to use as a VTuber, or what you choose to create with, here are some things you want to keep in mind. What is your initial budget? How complex is the system to use? How much does it cost to maintain? And when I say maintain, there are things like consumables. The LEDs that we use, they will get damaged over time and they will need to be repaired. Or you may need to spend money on licensing software. So how much does that ecosystem cost to maintain? Do you need help to operate it? More complex systems require operators to support and to help people into suits, to keep track of markers if things are falling off. Do you need help to operate this system? How well supported it is? How is the community? So things like, is there good documentation? Can I find other users online to help me if things are going wrong? How supported it is in my software pipeline and for my application? So some of these systems we talked about are more science focused and more research focused, while others are more mixed. And the amount of software and hardware support for your application really makes a difference. What kind of outcomes do you need? Basically, what quality of data, what fidelity of data, what resolution of data, what kind of data do you need? So this ultimately, you can create a big matrix to decide what kind of system to use. And I will say this field is moving extremely quickly. So I made these slides back about a year and a half ago when I taught this introduction to motion capture class. And I can tell you this, it is already outdated. Folks like ReboCap have entered the market, and they entered the market at a $300 price point. And I believe from what we see online, the resolution is significantly better than what something like a Mokopi has to offer. Okay, any questions initially? Just want to throw that out there before we move on. Yep. This? Sorry, I can't really quite hear the folks in the audience in your room, so. Yeah. Yeah, what about it? Yeah, sure. So essentially, I can't. Normally, I have like the physical demo that I can show, but in this virtual space, that's kind of hard. Essentially, think like, for example, if you put your thumb up, right, and you look at your nail, right, an optical system, with 3 or more cameras, you can triangulate the precise location of where that thumb is, right, and as you move around in space, you can get that precise location with 3 or more cameras. So for example, our system, we use 12 cameras, and we can get sub-millimeter or millimeter accuracy of where that thumb is. Again, you can't see my thumb. Now, if you have 2 points, so for example, if you had a tracker on your wrist and a tracker on your thumb. Hello? Okay. I think, can you hear me? Okay, I'm still talking, and I am still lighting up on our side. It might be something on your side, but let me quickly let me type to you as well. Can you hear me?
Audio is good on our stream
Yeah,
side.
we can hear you too. Okay,
Okay.
fantastic. Okay, so like I don't know where I cut off, so I'll kind of roll it back. If you have your thumb in front of you and think your thumbnail is a tracking point, with a ring of cameras around the room, you can track very precisely through triangulation, as long as the camera can see your thumb where that thumb is, to a millimeter accuracy. In some systems, are sub-millimeter, and that's XYZ motion, data. Then if you have a second joint, for example, if you have a tracker on your palm, for example, that gives you kind of a vector, and it tells you your rotation data. So that's how a passive or active marker system works. Now, when we talk about optical markerless, there's a lot more wee-woo magic. It is computer vision mixed with some AI data processing to smooth out that motion. And I won't get into that because that's wee-woo magic.
It's a black box.
It's a bit of a black box, yeah. And it's proprietary to different vendors and different solution providers.
That's a mocap crash course, I guess.
That is a mocap crash course. Okay. So the last slide, why does a university in Vancouver have its own VTuber program? To answer that question that we opened with, it's because our program, as an undergraduate program, we offer Bachelors of Science and Bachelor of Arts in technology, media, and kind of interactive systems, game developing, XR and VR kind of development. And we were thinking to ourselves, back in the day, I said to my creative director, Trisha, hey, wouldn't it be funny if...
And she was like, bet.
Yeah, she was like, bet. And I was like, oh, damn. Okay, now we got to make it happen. But essentially, we were thinking at that time, how do we best represent the work that our students create, right? You make a film, it's a one and done. You make a game, very much, it's one and done. And, we thought, if we had a VTuber program, this is something that different generations of students can be adding to. So, for example, our first gen was done with a bunch of students outside of class. The second gen was created by students within the class. And it really showcases different skills. So, doing VTubing, you need, AR, VR development, 3D modeling, game development. But you also need things like videos, video editing, animation, graphic design, web design for building our website. So really it's an opportunity for us to showcase kind of the best work of our students. But at the same time, for us as a research and production studio, it allows us to train technicians, right? If all we do is create mocap for students, which we do regularly for our students every single term, that's just not enough work, and it doesn't allow us to excel and build our own understanding of how to make mocap better and how to create better and higher quality outcomes. So this gives us an excuse. Having our own VTuber program gives us an excuse to really experiment with things and polish our own pipeline and polish our understanding of the technology, because ultimately our students are going to go out into the world and they're going to need to find jobs. And this is a way to give them experience working within the school, working within the studio before they go out there. And the side effect of this is people hear about us because we have VTubers now. I don't have it handy here, but for some reason, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Japan featured us in an article.
Yeah.
It was very surprising to us. It was a little bit confusing to us. But hey, people are seeing what we're doing here, so that's really, really cool. So that is why we have our own VTuber program. Okay, that brings us to the end of the slides portion. Dr. Who, I know you have some questions for us. I think the point of anonymity, and actually, do you want to take this one first?
I have some thoughts,
Yeah,
I guess. And those thoughts are I think the worst parts of fame, it's like the worst parts of fame are the crazy people that will find you, and they're unhealthy, and they maybe are dangerous to you. I'm sure everyone has heard horror stories of like parasocial people who will track down their favorite celebrity, and paparazzi and so on and so forth. Just a lot of encroaching on privacy. And that anonymity that, you know, XR and like VTubing, that it provides a layer of protection while still reaping the benefits of, you know, celebrity status or like fame, I guess. Like you're famous for your work and your voice and what you do. And it's less about what you look like, and it's way harder to track you down because of that. And I think that's like a really strong benefit, is like allowing people to kind of be famous for their work rather than, you know, risk their like when the people know what they actually look like in real life. It's so easy. It's so, in 2026, it is so easy to find everything about someone on the internet. All you need to know is what they look like in their name, which that's like the bare minimum for celebrities and anyone who has like a modicum of fame, right? So yeah, protection. It makes it less about your physical appearance, which is kind of, that's like traditional celebrity culture, you know, like actors and what have you. Like it's always about a big factor, you can't deny it, is how they look. And with I don't know why I keep standing up like that. A big factor of the VTubing and any kind of like anonymized celebrity. So like it's not even just virtual. Like I think of, you know, like Japanese singers like Ado, where, you know, their anonymity is a really big part of their identity, and it protects them. It gives them a layer of protection you just can't get if you're showing your face and you have your name and everything out, which is really nice.
Yeah, I think you've touched on all of the important points here. I think, you know, even if you are not a celebrity, even if all you are just like an online content creator, or even professors have their simps. People get really parasocial, both online and in person, right? And this idea of having this identity that is separate from who you are as a person, it allows you to kind of have that distance and have that space, kind of have that safety. And I mean, on the other side of things, right, it is also something that you can at some point replace, right? If, for example, you know, a model or a certain community is becoming problematic, this is something you can step away from, whereas you really cannot peel your skin off, at least not in a way that will keep you going for very long, right?
Oh, I have an extra point that I forgot to mention.
Yeah.
And that is accessibility. I think of like really famous VTubers like Iron Mouse who have chronic illnesses. They are chronically ill. And, you know, sometimes, a lot of the time, they're bedridden. They might not be able to get up and go and do things outside. But, you know, VTubing lets them still have a way to communicate to people without maybe necessarily having to turn on your video, show people the state that you're in. If you're in a hospital bed, you can still go online and pilot your VTuber with your face.
I will be clear. You probably shouldn't be
doing
it from a hospital. If you're in a hospital, you should probably be resting.
Yeah. But it is, well, the point is that, like, well, if you're chronically ill, then you're going to be bedridden a lot of the time. And yet you're still able to, you know, get out, put yourself out there and communicate to people in a safe way that doesn't really jeopardize, it doesn't require you to maybe be out of your bed.
And I think, you know, what Iron Mouse has done is absolutely incredible. You know, creating a community as she has, you know, with her condition, right?
Yeah.
And you know, the other thing is, I think, coming with this anonymity, but also coming with having a virtual avatar, it allows you to not be human.
Yeah.
You could be a plane, you could be a cactus, you could be anything you want, right? So, you know, we're in an industry that has a lot of queer folks, right? People who are not necessarily comfortable with how they present in real life. They can present themselves however they like. And I think that that's something extremely powerful as well, you know, and it gives them, again, that sense of safety because it is an identity that they have online, something that they can turn off if Mo, you just keep standing up.
I don't know why that's happening. I also blink one eye at a time.
Yeah. Please.
Oh yeah, we gotta talk about Metaverse.
We gotta talk about Metaverse. I have thoughts too. You want to start?
I guess I can start. And the first thing I want to say in regards to, which I'm assuming we're talking about Zuckerberg's Metaverse, but also like maybe just the concept of Metaverse in general. I want to raise the game VR chat. Doctor Who, do you know what VR chat is? It is kind of like, you know, Zuckerberg's Metaverse, except it's like, first of all, it's free. It's free to everyone. It's accessible to people not just with VR headsets of any kind, but also like you could access it with your keyboard and mouse. It's kind of like the game Second Life, except it is VR compatible. You can upload any model you want, you know, so customization, the sky's the limit. Literally whatever you can create, you can put it into VR chats. And it is a raging success. Over the last... Oh, Doctor Who cannot be heard on the stream. Damn.
Ah, okay.
It's okay. We'll fix that while I talk.
Yep.
But yeah, over the last, I think it came out in like 2017 or so, and it has just been continuously growing. I feel like exponentially more and more until now. And it is the success story where Metaverse has been a complete flop. And VTubing also alongside that. And it's like, why did these things succeed while Metaverse flopped? And I think ultimately there's a few points that I wrote down some notes, but I think it really comes down to Metaverse as being tied to a billionaire and large corporation, and they're trying to push this as not just a fun thing, not a way to connect with people, but like the future of society and also money. Money is so important.
Yeah.
While VR chat has always been free and for the people, and you can really tell because it's accessible for free. Literally anyone can use it. And that customizability that you can get just at a base level without having to invest in a MetaQuest 3 and the game itself being like, what's like $60 US or something like that. It's a completely different league. Mm-hmm. And that's I think one of the most important parts about it. Like customizability, accessibility. God, don't get me started on how Metaverse is built on proprietary software stacks. Like you have to have Meta branded VR hardware to even be able to access it. The software too, like you can't just hop in Blender, make whatever you want and drop it into Metaverse. It's not a thing. All you can do is work within the limits of their systems.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to point out. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. And look, I don't want to comment. I love art, okay? I don't want to comment. I don't want to say an art style is bad because it's subjective. Art is subjective. But
I mean, if I may, I think, you know, the Metaverse, it's a... Especially Horizon Worlds, the version that Meta put out, it is, I would say, in some ways, a success in the sense that it's a fantastic technical solution. They solved a lot of really, really cool problems as they were creating the Metaverse. It's just, from my opinion, I think it's just also not the right product, right?
Yeah.
They're creating their own style, their own visuals. You know, when you create something new, there's always that disconnect between culture and, you know, this dead-eyed avatar kind of thing that goes around with the Metaverse, or they've been known for, you know, really is harder to penetrate into the market with. You know, I want to give you an example of what I think is going to be a successful implementation of the Metaverse, which is Hollow Earth. Debatable, I know. It's significantly...
I would use VR chat as the best comparison.
Yeah.
Where it's actually been successful. Well, and that's undeniable.
My perspective of this is, you know, if you look at Hollow Earth, it is essentially HoloLive or CoverCorp's version of the Metaverse. To be clear, CoverCorp, the company behind HoloLive, they're actually a VR research company. They are not an idol company. The idol company just was something that took off and is now making them a lot of money and is funding a lot of their VR and XR research. So this is their version of the metaverse, and you can see the characters, the people that you can become within Hollow Earth is an anime character. It is something
people
that
want to become anime characters.
People want to become anime characters, and it is a vocabulary that people understand. Now, the other thing I think I want to touch on is also the wrong timing and the wrong rationale. The metaverse is made to be this open world sandbox where people can play different games, can interact with each other, can do all of these sorts of things that VR chat can already do. But also think about this. I have friends in real life. I can just talk to them without needing to go into the metaverse, without needing to buy goggles. And to be clear, I can only access Horizon World if I had VR goggles.
And it has to specifically be MetaQuest ones.
Exactly. So if my friends don't have VR goggles, it's just like the blue bubble, green bubble thing on iPhones, right? It's that exclusivity that is entirely unnecessary within the interaction. Whereas for Hollow Earth, right, it is billed as a thing where you can explore a world based on HoloLive kind of culture, based on idol culture. You can go in there to see concerts. You can go in there to interact with other fans, and it's kind of this open world experience. Now, why would this be more successful? Well, there's a purpose. I am going in there to experience HoloLive stuff, right? It's not an entirely open world where you need to populate with all of your own friends and all of your own experiences. So I think this version of the metaverse may be also more successful. And also, finally, target audience. I think the metaverse Horizon World implementation of the metaverse, there was a cost. You had to buy a $500 headset and
pay for the game. And that meant you had to be of a certain demographic. You had to be older. You had to be someone with disposable income to do that. And yet, why is the biggest demographic on Horizon Worlds right now children? I wonder about that.
Yes. Well, it's no longer limited to.
It is free now, I think. Yeah. They made it free a couple months ago after several years.
Yeah. But ultimately, right, initially, there was a mismatch in audience. People with the money didn't have the time. People with the time didn't have the money. Whereas for Hollow Earth, these are HoloLive fans. They tend to have some money, and they tend to have a reason to come in to this world to experience this version of the metaverse. So this is like two different kind of competing versions of the metaverse, and I think one is going to be a lot more successful than the other.
I'm not totally convinced on Hollow Earth, to be honest, because I've never heard of it until just now. VR chat, on the other hand.
My friend, you're not a Hollow fan.
I know, but like, if it's such a big deal, then I would have heard about it, I think.
And it's not actually fully launched yet either. So
and yet there's a download button. I really think VR chat is like the gold standard for what Metaverse was trying to do in terms of like build those communities, give that experience, because it really is like, I say this as someone who's not even played VR chat. This is just what I know about it. But like, it truly, there are classes. People do school in VR chat. There's classrooms where they teach you like sign language, I think, using like finger tracking, like camera-based finger tracking. It's really cool. There's like, sure, you can do concerts in Hollow Earth of the official HoloLive.
This is VR chat.
Oh, okay, even better, yeah. That's because fans can do it, and that's kind of crazy. But like, there's true freedom in VR chat, from my understanding, that, you know, you're not gonna get in Metaverse. And like, that's because of PR, I think. Like, it's attached to a $1 trillion company or whatever, so there's not a lot that they can't just open the floodgates and let everyone do whatever they want. But at the same time, that's exactly what's preventing them from making a metaverse something that people want to go and hang out in. So yeah, huge failure. I think my last note here, I have a bunch of bullet points, and then I have PR. Zuckerberg versus furries, who would win? And the answer here is obvious.
I mean, you're talking about a robot versus furries, basically.
Furries makes up like the entire like tech industry besides Zuckerberg.
Sorry, I feel like you know, there goes our Meta sponsorship. I'm not worried. It's fine. Okay, furries run the internet. Andre says on
exactly.
stream.
You get it.
There you go.
So I
Also,
think like, oh, sorry.
sorry, no, go ahead. I was just gonna say no legs.
Yeah, no legs. What's up with Horizon World and no legs? Gotta let the dogs out.
And a lot of like basic things like security functions, like the thing about encroaching personal space, that's like such a basic day one thing. VR chat has had it day one, and that became such a huge like PR scandal for Metaverse that it just really set the bar really low, I think. But yeah, that's it.
So I don't know like if we have time for all the 5 questions that I prepared, but I think like well maybe this might be the last one. But what is the relationship between AI and extended reality? Because like I know after hanging around on the studio sets Discord, I know that a lot of people there have a strong dislike against AI art, and yet you still need AI to do certain things, like for example, for motion capture, for maybe analyzing data or some other things. So like, is there like a love-hate relationship between AI and extended reality?
You want to take that, or do you want me to take that? You know what? Hold on. Let me take that before you go into
take it. I'm gonna yap forever.
Yeah. Okay. So I think, the use of AI as a tool, not in the art sense, but as a tool for getting people and creatives into XR, it's going to be a game changer, right? The algorithms that are doing motion processing and remapping from motion data into avatars, they are getting better every day, right? Right now you can see my model clips into my body a lot, right? These are problems that are being solved with AI to reduce the amount of clipping, to increase the fidelity and all of that. So I think it's going to be
I feel like we need to define some words here, because
that's true.
We're just throwing around the word AI when we're talking about machine learning and algorithms that have existed before generative AI, which when people say AI, they are almost always talking about, like, in the last 4 years, when someone says AI, they're almost certainly talking about generative AI, and specifically like image generation, text generation, video generation, which is a totally different beast to things like machine learning, algorithm AI that's, again, existed before ChatGPT, existed before all this. And yes, it is great that that is a thing that is helping people, like it's helping the mocap pipeline, it's helping artists like do the most tedious, painful, awful things, make it more efficient and easier to do. But it's and I just feel like that's it's just different. We can't be conflating the two.
Yeah. And I think like on the other side of things, using generative AI, man, my feelings are complex about that. Like, on one hand, you're giving people with no creative skills the ability to kind of bring certain things to life, but on the other side, you're losing the soul in creation. You're losing the humanity behind the art that we see in the world today, and all of that. And so I think the other thing that it's going to change, right, with generative AI coming into the market, is that people are going to be really wanting live experiences in person and live experiences online. It's not going to be enough to be able to just watch a video online, because it's going to be something that someone generated like an hour ago, and now it's got like 10,000 views because it has,
People are tired of AI slop.
Yeah.
People want real experiences that have real humans behind them.
Well, I mean, then that's the challenge, right? With AI, it's getting harder and harder to spot AI slop. So I think
it's not about the quality, though.
No.
It's ultimately about the story behind it and the people behind it. Because it's like, people could see a video that looks beautiful and they'll agree, wow, this looks really good. And then they find out it's AI and they're like, all right, I hate it now.
Yeah.
and I think that's a sign that like the people and the story behind it is so much more important than the final quality, like the final product and its quality. But like that could be literally that could be a semester's worth of discussion.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we have the time to get into that.
No.
But I do have like a couple of notes, and that's like, it's like my benchmark of how to tell how I feel about, whether something is, like, how I feel about that specific application of AI, and like in the field of XR specifically, because like the question was what is the relationship between AI and XR? Because AI destroys art, but it is needed for complex tasks like gesture gesture recognition. And I mean, the first thing was that we had to separate the difference between the AI that destroys art, which is the generative stuff that's actively training on art, and the goal is to create art, versus gesture recognition, which is machine learning algorithms, again, existed before generative AI. But putting that aside, I have like three questions that I use to kind of answer this. And the first one is it online and is it actively training, or is it a closed system? Is it actively pulling like data and trying to build on it itself and it's training on that data? Or is it like an enclosed thing that does not, it's not developing further on active data? The second thing is, what is the source of that training data? Where is it coming from? Because I've heard about, for example, like Into the Spider-Verse, or like the people at Sony Image Picture Works using like closed training systems on their own like models and animations to make it an automated system. So it's like closed system sourced from their own things that they provided. And the last point is, what is the goal of that AI? Is it to create pictures for making money? Is it to create videos for making money? Or is it to aid in the process of something that you're already doing, that you're working on yourself? I guess. I don't know. It's kind of wishy-washy, but like that's my general vibe. I don't know if that answers anything.
I think for me, the summary is AI is going to change what people want to see on the internet and what experiences people want to experience in their daily life. And XR, it's going to drive people to live experiences in extended reality and in person. Yeah.
I mean, thinking about XR, like I think about things like gesture recognition, and that stuff is really helpful, and it's going to take the tech to new heights that didn't exist before. Whereas if you think about things like Gen AI videos or Gen AI 3D models, we could do that before. We can do that. It doesn't bring us to any new heights at all. So in the case of like things that help XR development, like gesture recognition or mocap cleanup, like live mocap cleanup would be so cool, or retopologizing, these things are maybe like not humanly possible without the tech to help us. Whereas
it's possible, it's just really expensive.
It's just very expensive and not truly feasible for us to do. But that tech helps us do that. Whereas, bro, I could have drawn a picture. I could have always done that. I could have made a video. I could have done that forever. I've been able to do that, and I have been doing that for decades, right? That's kind of how I boil it down, I guess.
So just so you be aware, right now it's about almost 4:30 in Ontario. I think it's probably 3:30 on your side. So I think like should we just try to wrap it up here for now, or?
Yeah, sounds good. I mean, does your class or people in chat have any questions for us before we do our outro?
I can't see the chat per se. I don't think anyone. Do you guys have any questions? No, I don't think so.
Okay, sounds good. I guess we'll just do a quick outro.
I guess so.
Yeah, and if you have any questions for us, what we'll do is let me quickly post the link to our Discord in the chat. If you have any questions, you're welcome to join our community and interact with us there. And we can continue the conversation over there. Let me just do that. Can you do it for the YouTube chat for me, please?
Sure. It's linktree.e/studiosiet.
So yeah, if you click on that link tree over there, you can join our Discord and we can continue the conversation over there. Yeah, thank you so much for having us in your class, Dr. Who.
Yes, thank you Algoma University for having us.
Yeah.
This was cool.
Oh, and subscribe.
Subscribe to
for people on our YouTube, in YouTube. Please subscribe to Cappuverse channel, and people in the room. You can find the link in the link tree as well.
And I can finally remove my bow tie because it's part of the ethics.
Yeah. So if there's nothing else, I think we'll sign off over here. Thank you again, Dr. Hu, for having us.
Thank you to the class.
Thank you to the class for listening, and have a wonderful rest of your evening in Ontario, folks.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you for doing that.
No problem. And for folks in chat on YouTube, have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.